Welcome to Africanad TV, ladies and gentlemen. You know who it is, and you know what time it is. It is the time to be informed and to be entertained. On our studio today, in the studio, who do we have, ladies and gentlemen? It's the one and only. We call him Omokorede. We gave him that name from the Nigerian Yoruba community, and he is really smiling. Please make welcome one and only the Minister of Labor and Immigration, Minister John Reyes. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, AY. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be here with you and to inform the community about the things that government is doing. In my case, I am the Minister for Immigration, and I want to express how we are doing things to improve and enhance immigration here to our province. I know that Bukola interviewed me in the past. I know she was very nervous at the time, but there's that song, Baby, Calm Down, Calm Down, Calm Down. So let's have fun today.
All right, viewers, if you don't know, BTS, behind the scene, we have danced to Baby Calm Down, Calm Down. The minister have on this playlist all the songs from Rema to Whiskey to OBO. You can just name it. He's in love with Nigeria. And let me tell you one thing. He's one of the #1 fan of the Super Eagles. He loves sport a lot. Well, how come? Let me ask you one question. How did you come to get in so much love with Africans, especially Nigerians?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm glad you asked me that question. I've always had a soft spot in cheering for the underdog when African nations are in the World Cup. I guess my first love for an African nation was Cameroon with Raja Mila.
Oh yeah!
Back in the day, right? And I've always cheered on the Nigeria or Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. So I've always had a liking for the African nations because they're underdogs. I mean, my parents' home country, the Philippines, they're ranked way down in the FIFA rankings. So you could call me well, I'm called Omokorede, so of course I'm going to.
You are truly Omokorede for a reason. Bukola, look at the way he called your name.
I know, Bukola, very culturally not surprised because he's shown and proven to be into the African community, and we appreciate that.
And you know what they call Manitoba? Friendly Manitoba. And Canada, as it is more inclusive with its diversity. Our different ethnicity is being imbibed into one, and is a good epitome that is carrying that torch for this. And we're proud to always back you, support you. Though we practice non-partisan politics, but still, you're one of the few that we know has a good heart for our province. Thank you so much for all you do.
No, you're welcome. Appreciate that. Yeah, you're welcome to you both. I just want to say, I know that we're going to have questions, but I can tell you, before I became the Minister of Immigration, I learned a lot from many ethnic communities, and in particular, the Nigerian community, on ways to improve immigration. When they were asking me questions at the time on points or any questions or issues whatsoever, I mean, I wasn't the minister responsible at the time, but I look back on when my father immigrated here in 1968, and I know we're going to get into the questions, but you know, it's my duty. It's my duty. It's always been my duty to serve the people as best as I can. And I really owe a lot to the Nigerian community, the African communities, for giving me the knowledge and the guidance on best ways to improve and enhance our immigration programs. I know which we'll get into, but you can see that I get emotional because
I just want to please, should we cut the camera, because someone is really getting so emotional here, and that tells to the fact that you're true and you're really sincere, and you have it in you that what you're doing is not just a passion. You have the calling for it, and it is for the people. And I'm proud to be your friend. I'm proud. I'm really proud of what you're doing. And Africanad is all for the African community. And I see the way and manner you have been, engaging the African community. It's not because we are friends or anything. It's just because I see the passion, and you hear, you listen, and you act. And that's where it's going to take us to some questions. Today, I'm not going to be here as a friend. I'm going to be here as a. We're going to be like serious. That's why, Bukola, you said the last time Buki was a little bit fresh to this. She's ready for you now because.
I think.
and she came with bags of questions because some of our viewers out there have been asking us, sending us emails, questions that they want to hear from the minister directly. You've watched news, but here we have the truth and undiluted truth. So we're going to switch into the mood of questions. Yes, and I'm going to give it straight to Bukola to please. And for our viewers, for you to know, Bukola is not just a part of an Africanad brand ambassador. She is a consultant when it comes to immigration. She has a master's in it. She's growing in it. She has her own business in it, but she's still volunteering for Africanad as one of us. So we say thank you. And that's why we always bring you in whenever the Minister of Immigration, because 2 immigration consultants are in the building.
I'm always happy to contribute my part to Manitoba.
Thank you. So straight to the questions. Let's have them.
So there were 70 practical recommendations and concrete actions provided in the Manitoba Immigration Advisory Council report. Can you share with us some of the key recommendations and how this impacts Manitoba immigration system?
Okay, well, there are 70 recommendations, and I just want to explain to the audience that we had a 20-member Immigration Advisory Council that was established last year by the Premier, which was co-chaired by myself and Dr. Lloyd Axworthy. Dr. Lloyd Axworthy was the Federal Minister for Immigration many years ago, but he has a lot of knowledge when it comes to immigration. So we put a team together from diverse backgrounds, not only by ethnicity, but by professions and throughout the province of Manitoba. So we want to make sure that we had a fair representation as much as we could. This is the first time we've done it. So we did have 70 recommendations. So you wanted me to talk about what were some of the key recommendations.
Right.
So one of the key recommendations, and a big win for Manitoba, was we want to make sure that our province, myself as a minister, advocated for more allocations, more numbers for our provincial nominee program. And I have to remind the audience, the provincial nominee program was created in 1998 by a PC government.
That's it, the Conservative Party.
Correct, yeah. So the PC government created that back in 1998. Over the years, we've had allocations allocated by the federal government, giving us the number of spots that we could recruit people through the provincial nominee program. So the last 2 years, we've had record numbers of people applying, just over 6,200 in 2021 and 6,300 in 2022. Now, one of the issues is that we have many expressions of interest. People really want to come to Manitoba. The last number that I've heard was 20,000. There's 20,000 expressions of interest. But if you only have 6,000 plus allocations, you won't be able to stream all of them through.
True.
So there's a fair process. There's criteria involved. But one thing, a big win for us, is that we were able to get 9,500 allocations from the federal government. So it's increased it by 50%.
Wow.
So that's a big win for us. One of the other issues as well was, I guess there's postgraduate work students that are here from other provinces wanting to go into become a permanent resident, but one of the issues is work permits. So one of the things that I did as a minister was advocate to the federal minister that extend those work permits, because of the pandemic there were some issues. So up to 18 months, the work permits can be extended, so individuals have a better chance of successfully applying and getting drawn to our provincial nominee program. Something that that I heard, and so we listened. So that's one allocation, was the number of allocations. So
went up 50%
Yes.
up from 6,000
to
to
9,500.
9,500.
Yeah.
I think that is a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And with respect to the work permits, I mean, I advocated for that as well. And the federal minister made an announcement a week later after I had sent him a letter. I even put it on social media, and even one of our own minister, ɪᴍᴜᴜ, actually supported me through social media. I support the minister on his advocacy for extension of work permits, and hey, it worked. We pressured the the federal minister, but you know what? It's for a good thing. It's to create less anxiety and more streamlined process, so that individuals have a better chance to become a permanent resident and ultimately a Canadian citizen.
If I may just spot in, I could hear from you that you've been limited by the number that you could admit out of the total number of interest shown.
Right.
The last 2 years, you have over 20,000 interest shown through application through this program of PNP, right?
Well, that's our current number. I mean, the number keeps growing. It could be 16,000 and 17,000. I was just told today there's 20,000 expressions of interest. So
wow.
Many
Annually?
People, yeah. Well, just the current number.
The current number.
The number always changes, right?
Wow.
When people apply.
Wow.
Right. So one of the other recommendations, because I've heard this a lot too, was family. Right?
That is the next question, because
Ask me the question. Ask me the question.
This question was actually sent from I believe the lady will be waiting and be listening now. Her name is ɪᴍᴜᴏ, and she said, yes, mention my name. I really want to know, when is the point going to drop, so that our family members who have expressed interest could be picked. At least we have something to contribute, that we have been staying in Manitoba all these years. Yeah. We've paid our taxes. Yeah. We've been here as a permanent resident. We did not move. How can this help? When is the number going to drop for us, and we're going to take an advantage of this?
To have more of our families coming to stay with us here in Manitoba.
That's a great question. You know what? Again, that's something that I learned from in particular, the Nigerian community, the Indo communities, about family. Now, people must remember ɪᴍᴜᴏ is her name, right?
Yeah, ɪᴍᴜᴏ.
So ɪᴍᴜᴏ, I just want to let you know that we are reviewing the point system. It's one of the recommendations in our Immigration Advisory Council report that you can find online.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah. So this copy I'm going to leave with Io, and I'm also going to personally sign it for him too. but I just want to.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say, with respect to family, because we're talking about skilled workers overseas, most likely if you have, in this case, family members in Nigeria. And there is a point system, there's criteria, there's an adaptability factor, all this point system. Again, when I was, prior to the minister, when people were talking to me about this, I had no concept. I was born in Canada.
Yes.
And my parents are immigrants. But I've learned along the way, up to this point, with respect to the point system. Well, I can tell you, skilled workers overseas, during the pandemic, they didn't do any draws for skilled workers overseas. For obvious
it's been almost, it was paused. Yeah.
It was paused. But since stepping in, there have been two, and there was one recently 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to tell you that with respect to all those folks who are drawn through these skilled workers overseas, they all have a family connection. And the reason why is because I made sure, and speaking also with the Premier, that we need to retain people. So if you're going to have a greater chance of retaining people to stay in Manitoba, then having a family member, the odds are greater for them to stay in our province.
True.
Right?
Right.
And that's one thing that I've heard. So with respect to the points, we are reviewing that process, but what I can tell you is we're trying to improve the streamlining process with regards to whether it's skilled workers Manitoba or skilled workers overseas. What I can also tell you is, based on the report, there's the normal draw, but there's also in the report called recommending sector-specific draws.
Sector-specific draws.
So if a certain sector, say like accounting, if we need a certain number of accountants, we'll do a normal draw based on the normal point process, basically the best of the best. But we'll do a sector-specific draw because it addresses the labor shortage in Manitoba. So we'll do a special draw based on, say, the restaurants, based on the trucking industry, based on accountants, professionals, healthcare.
True.
So we are streamlining the process, and because we have 9,500 allocations, we're being pretty proactive, because we want to address that labor shortage here in the province, and there's a labor shortage across the country, and we have to be competitive.